What is up, YouTube? That was a good one. Alrighty, guys. So we are in peak week 2 for Pete and peak week 1 for Amy. For me, session today is very simple. Chris has given us a bit of a deload, so we've got about 5 weeks left after this week remaining on the block before we start to really tidy things up and hit our pre-prep phase. So he doesn't want a full-blown deload. We're still going to take it to a degree of intensity, but we still need to be able to push load, limits, volume for the next 5 weeks and sort of capitalize this block that we have. So a little bit of a lower intensity load this week for me. Still go through all our movements as usual. Same execution, same standards, same proximity, but we'll just pull it back a little bit. We've got Pete coming in a little bit to go through his look, see how he's looking, how he's pulling up. Easily the best look we've had so far. I saw him yesterday, only 3 days since we did our last check-in here at the gym, and he was substantially drier and leaner again. So physique is responding to the strategy, which is nice. A lot of my peak week protocols really are more about stress reduction, both physiologically and psychologically. So it seems to take hold quite well for a body like Pete's. We'll go through some questions with him, see how he's feeling, how he's doing. Obviously, we can't really do that with Amy because she is 1,200 kilometers away. But we'll grab Pete's feedback, see how he's feeling, how everything's going. And yeah, then we'll tie it into the show for Saturday. So he'll be on stage. Easily going to be our biggest comp weekend we've probably ever had. We got Pete on show Saturday. And then we'll be at the airport to head down to Sydney Saturday afternoon. And then we've got to catch up with Amy. And then we've got Amy on stage Sunday afternoon as well. So it's all happening for us this weekend. So we're on the peak of our athlete season. I'm going to try and capture as much of it as we can whilst we get my training and deload done, so we also progress and move forward to my season. We have our upper day 2, which is a pull session. So we've got some bent over rows. We have some single arm cable rows. We've got T-bar row. We've got some rear delt work, and we've got some bicep work. So nice and simple session today, all pull-based stuff. Again, we're going to go pretty hard, but nowhere near as close to failures that we normally do. I'm going to leave a bit in the tank just to make sure that we're reducing fatigue, let the body recover. I've got some manual treatment work there later today as well, so trying to rejuvenate the body a little bit, prepare for all this travel, and then we'll go from there. Underrated, overrated. The New Balance Chunky sneaker for squat. So this is the women's 9060 New Balance runner. And for squatting, holy shit, is it overrated. The amount of women that I see using the 9060 as their squat shoe, and you watch the amount of variability to their foot positioning. You watch the fluctuation, the movement under load from heel to big toe or from big toe to heel, internal rotation of the foot. It's not designed for stable foot pressure. But the only rationale I have behind it is that A, it looks cool. It looks like a cool shoe. It's in trend, so I'm gonna wear it. And B, the training isn't hard enough that it's going to impact your ability to generate load and stabilize your feet properly. Anything other than that doesn't make sense. There's no reason to wear it as a squat shoe, as an RDL shoe, as a Bulgarian split squat shoe. It's just a cool shoe to wear, I guess, in the gym, but as an actual shoe for loading and lifting, it is a completely illogical choice. So to me, completely overrated. Underrated, overrated, steps considered as cardio. At the zone of heart rate that most people do their walks, no, steps is not cardio. A step target is not cardio. The range in which you walk, your heart rate gets to, the general proximity of your average step count, of your average day's total walking that we allocate a step target, unless you're 180 kilos at 40% body fat and just standing up creates a loss of oxygen and you feel a degree of deprivation, then steps is more of a proximity to health through movement and a reduction in sedentary lifestyle than it is an improvement to aerobic capacity or a consideration as cardio or cardiovascular work. Unless you are drastically increasing the distance or the minimal target you have to operate to and adding something like a loaded vest, a weighted backpack, a camel pack, and then rucking up hills, your steps is not in place of cardio. For most people, especially my corporate workers, office workers, I'm giving them a step target to actually get them off the seat and get them moving a little bit more. I call them like micro laps, a small 500,000 step lap every so often at work to try and get your step count up, get away from the desk for a minute and come back, do a hot lap around the office, get a coffee and come back to your desk. That's just so that you don't die earlier. That isn't cardio. To me, when we're looking at prescription of cardiovascular work, we're looking at zone 2, zone 3, looking at the phase in which we apply it, the reasoning for it, driving metabolic flexibility, improving VO2 max, improving your ability to generate oxygen to the muscle that we're training so you recover faster between sets. All those things start to become cardiovascular rationale as opposed to just increasing step count. Your steps is just so you move and don't die sooner. Overall association to longevity and health, that's it. It's not cardio. The whole anti-cardio club is weird. The idea that you're cool because you don't do cardio or don't want to include cardio, it's odd to me. Like, we already do enough to shorten our lifespan. I don't know why it's a flex to do it more. All right, so as a coach, we have a very big weekend this weekend, obviously dedicated to other clients. How do we manage that environment, that time, with our own goals in mind as well? Obviously, we're here watching me train, doing our training session. I've got goals to the stage for myself. One of the things we're doing this week, proactively informed Chris, so my coach, I communicated with him that this weekend is coming up and what we have to do. We've moved all my training sessions Monday to Friday. Usually we do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, rest day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, rest day Sunday. We've moved all of our sessions forward, so 5 days of the week, Monday to Friday. And then the intention then after Friday is to basically rest, do no training, no cardio, get it all out of the way early in the week so that Saturday and Sunday can be mostly about clients, resting, recovering, recharging, and getting back home. Anyone that's been to a show that has clients compete knows that the emotional and physical exhaustion that comes from it is quite intense, especially someone that's not very social. I'm definitely a lot more introverted than I'm extroverted, regardless of what people try to say about what extroversion means. So the focus is to make sure that we get through Pete's show, spend time with him, we rest and recover, get down to Sydney, set ourselves up, get in the apartment, And then we're at Amy's show, replenished, fresh, ready to go again for another show, and we basically repeat it. The unfortunate side is that a lot of time when I work with people at first, it's how do you prioritize your goals, how do you make these decisions, how do you set things up? Being proactive and communicating is key, so we can establish a system or a strategy to get through it. So we know what I'm supposed to do, we know where I'm going to be, we know the limitations of nutrition, of what's going to be around by the time we get to Sydney, by the time we check in. We made sure that we rented an Airbnb with a full kitchen, made sure that it's in close proximity to the show, but also in walking distance, so we get our steps up. The rest of it is just going to be resting and recovering and getting home. So it's all about understanding the strategy, being proactive, not reactive, and making the decisions that are still in line with your clients, but also in line with your own goals. You don't have to throw the baby out of the bathwater just because you're not training or going, having to travel for work. There's enough people that travel for work in life that are still shredded, fit, lean, jacked, healthy. So it's about being proactive and logical in your decision making to make the best choices possible for not only your clients, but yourself. So that's a big thing that I try to approach it with, is like, I set the standards for my clients. I live and breathe by the standards that I teach. So if I'm not stepping up when I'm traveling, how do I expect my clients to? What does longevity in bodybuilding actually take? I think this is a really important question for people to wrap their heads around. And it should be one of the first considerations when you start, especially if you head down the PED route. Is the intention to do this long term, or are you simply looking for short term validation to fill a void in your life that you haven't addressed? Longevity in the sport is really building a lifestyle, an identity, a purpose around what gym means to you, around why you train, around what you're trying to achieve and why it's important. Understanding how this fits into the context of your life, not only now, but 5, 10, 20 years in the future. The problem today is that a lot of people are looking for the short-term gratification, the short-term validation, as a means to achieve social appreciation, social interaction, and not looking at what the downstream effects are. Not everyone needs to be on a bodybuilding stage. Not everyone is someone who should be a competitor. Not everyone is an athlete. That's okay. But longevity in the sport means prioritizing the basic stuff like sleep, vegetables and fruit, fiber intake, protein intake, not missing meals, being able to still live up to your lifestyle, maintain relationships, understand your finances, take care of your health, constant blood work, assessing your overall physiological state, making sure you have money for treatments, for physio, for remedial. There are going to be requirements that come with this lifestyle as a hobby, as a profession, as your primary focus. It doesn't matter. But longevity in this sport takes a lot of effort. But the thing is, it can also produce a high degree of longevity in your life. You give yourself purpose, you have a mission. The goal is always self-development and overall progression. So you have something to consistently strive towards. And the idea is to be as healthy as much as possible, as opposed to just taking more drugs or decreasing longevity or taking years off your life or not caring about your blood work just because you're already taking gear. In fact, it's the opposite. The more focus you get on the shows, the more focus you get on competing, the more you should be focused on the longevity in the game, longevity of your health, and be able to push this for as long as you can. It's not a 2 to 3 year project. It's something you'll do for 10, 15, 20 years if you actually really want to live by it. So for me, longevity is one of my primary focuses when it comes to this sport, and how I'm going to manage this and do this for a very long time. 33 now, and I don't intend to stop anytime soon. So this is what I want to do, and I'm going to take all the necessary steps to make sure I have longevity in this game. What is a non-negotiable recovery strategy for masters athletes? The biggest strategy is understanding your programming, especially in the prep. If we look at it from a prep perspective, managing fatigue as much as possible, knowing when to push and when to pull back, but also making sure you focus on the fundamentals. So sufficient protein intake. Generally, if you're with me, we're looking at 2 to 2.5 grams per kilogram, in between that range. Even sometimes things as simple as sufficient collagen. But then also making sure that you are getting adequate sleep. Sleep is such a big one, especially for masters athletes. You just simply don't have the systems and the tools in your body to be reducing or decreasing total sleep. One of the primary, easiest things to manipulate and control is just make sure you get into bed. You know, the closer you can get to 9 hours, the better for a masters athlete. Just to make sure that you're preserving muscle tissue, recovering sufficiently, feeling well rested for your training, because it has carry-on effects. By the time we get into your training, if you're not well rested, you're not performing hard enough. You're not generating enough stimulus, which is then going to reduce the amount of muscle preservation that you have. So we need to make sure, realistically, a prep is all about muscle retention and fat loss. If you aren't training hard enough, you aren't recovering sufficiently, generating the right amount of sleep, you're going to lose tissue. And then it becomes more of just a weight loss competition instead of a fat loss or muscle loss competition. So that's more of the primary approach that I take with my older athletes. To make sure we get those fundamental behaviors down pat as a non-negotiable, and maximizing those factors first and foremost. Cardio during prep, how much is too much? When you're doing so much cardio that is taking away from your body's ability to recover and rest sufficiently, where you're impacting the duration of your sleep in order to get a little bit more output, you only have so much time in the day. And I get we've got to pull certain levers, but if you're at the point where you're having to get to hours upon hours of cardio a day in order to get lean, and it's impacting your ability to stay in bed, to get rest, to get sleep, then post-comp would be a good time to reflect on what went wrong to start the season. Did you start too high in body fat? Energy availability too low to start off with? Were you already doing too much cardio in the off season? You had oh God, I'm having a brain fart here. Law of accommodation. You simply had to increase more because your body adapted to how much you were doing. If you're in that position, then I would say you've done too much cardio. For me, cardio is a tool. It's a lever to pull when it's necessary. It's gonna have its place in prep. The ability to generate a greater deficit with or without having to modify food is always a great thing. Make sure you're having sufficient fuel available to train effectively is important. But if you're doing so much cardio where you can't rest and recover at all, then I think you're doing too much cardio. So that to me is kind of like the way in which I try to judge it. Obviously what's necessary for each person is individual, but at a certain point, yeah, you've got to look at weighing up what is the cost of getting this extra cardio in compared to, say, focusing on more sleep, or rest and recovery, perhaps pulling down some food, dropping fats or some carbohydrates, and looking at how that impacts things. So there's always levers to pull, but when it comes to cardio, those are the considerations that I sort of look at. This or that, train with music or silence. Well, with all the voices in my head, there's never any silence anyway, so that's fine. No, I can train like this now, obviously to do content and put stuff out for you guys, but when it's true top sets, when it's, depending on the music the gym plays, I can train in any environment, but yeah, for a more optimal training intensity and environment, then yeah, music will always be a preferred choice for me. It just depends on what type of mood I am in for said music. Early mornings or late night training? Early mornings every time. I used to be a late night trainer. I used to train after work when I ran nutrition warehouse stores, when I ran supplement stores, when I was a previous PT, when I was younger doing trade work, I would train after work. But with how much we get done now in a day, how much we need to get done, the earlier we can get training out of the way. Like today's great, we started at 6 a.m. It's gonna be fantastic to throw the rest of the workload finished today that I need to get done and then be able to relax. So yeah, definitely a morning training now. Cardio pre-workout or post. If it has to be a this or that around training, I like to apply an antagonistic approach. So if you're doing like a lower body session, something like a rower, something like a ski erg for your upper body cardio, pre-workout, get blood flowing, a post-workout. If you just wanted to get blood moving, doing light recumbent bike before you do legs works. But if it's generally something like a heavy upper body session, I will prescribe a bike beforehand at a decent heart rate to try and get blood moving, increase, getting the heart rate going, that sort of thing, get your body ready to train. But usually I'll try and give them antagonistically. At the same time, if I had my preferred option, it would be cardio away from your training. That would be ideal for me to maximize MPS and generate the cardiovascular work that we need to get through. Hot take, but having to put offensive disclosures before movies like Rush Hour is one of the weakest things that I've ever seen.
Are they doing that now?
There's a disclosure now before Rush Hour movies that it was era appropriate, and if you were offended by XYZ, probably best to not watch this movie. The same people that need to be told that, in my opinion, are the reason why we have don't put metal things in toasters and PowerPoints and don't drink bleach. If you need to be told that, then in my opinion, much less polite words I would prefer to use. Imagine retroactively having to inform people that the movie from the 90s that contains an Asian man and an African American man who are both racially comedic and hilarious, is not era appropriate. This just in, water is wet, the sun is hot, bears shit in woods. There was a funny video interview with Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. This is how racist Jackie Chan is. He's like, half the time I didn't even know what he was saying. It was just funny. And he just starts laughing. He's like, he speak too quick. It was just funny. All right, so we have Petasaurus Rex. We're obviously, what are we now? 3 days out. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, show day, Saturday. We'll say 3 days till show day. So we're gonna go through his look now, see how he's looking and how the body's responding. But before he does that, I've got some questions for you. So first question that Brooklyn put down. That I wrote, not Brooklyn. All right, Pete. What advice would Pete? She's talking in third person here.
Yes.
What advice would Pete give to Pete? What advice would you give to your younger self starting out in bodybuilding for the first time?
Ooh, good question. Bizarrely enough, I do have experience on my side with age, but actually nothing, I wouldn't change anything that I originally did when I first started. Bizarrely enough, I trained hard.
Yeah.
I did all the basics, the compounds, and back in the 90s, no one knew anything about nutrition, but the diet I followed was actually pretty good. The only thing I might add was a bit more micronutrients with veg and fruit, but the basics of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, I nailed all those when I was younger. I don't know how I managed it. It was just fluke. Maybe all the Flex magazines and the Joe Weider magazines helped.
There you go, guys. So basically, just be born in the 80s, 90s era, and you're laughing. You'll get the right information from the magazines instead. It's interesting that because obviously there's the less information sometimes is better. Because obviously socials now just has so much information where everyone's right and everyone has their own mic and can say what they want. But sometimes back then, the experts were actually probably the better ones to listen to.
Less information, less overload.
Yeah. How are you feeling coming into peak week 2?
Actually, feeling pretty good. I was having this conversation with my wife last night, and I'm just saying, feeling really nice and chilled, relaxed. Had the same conversation with my psychologist. So I work with a psychologist as well, and same thing, feeling really good, chilled, relaxed. No expectations, just enjoying the process.
Love it. What are you feeling different? Obviously now we're into show 2, but how do you feel emotionally, physiologically, psychologically, this prep to the preps you've done previously? I know we've done a fair bit of work, both with myself and with Effie, to get you to this position. But how are you feeling in those regards, I guess, is a difference? And not to blow smoke up my ass or dig at any other coach, but more so just comparatively to what you feel in this season compared to your last ones.
Less fatigue. And as we said, like the legs only started really getting heavy probably after the last show. I noticed it. Mentally a lot better. And I think a lot of that is because I'm not worried about the result. I'm more worried about how I look, how I feel, how I'm interacting as a husband, a father, and just someone enjoying life and training. So I've just taken a lot of the expectations off myself.
I think that's the real important thing that a lot of people miss in competing these days is they don't understand the importance of process and performance goals. They get so fixated on the outcome goal being, I need to place, or I've got to be like this up on stage, or I need to, my friends and family are coming, I've got to look a certain way, which ironically puts more pressure on the show, which makes you look worse, as opposed to knowing that you nailed everything across each week. You, as a byproduct, produce the best look on stage, as opposed to worrying about the outcome itself. You're more focused on the day-to-day processes and the gym, the weekly performances that start to add up.
Yep, agreed.
All right. What are you what are you looking forward to most, or I guess what are you probably going to miss the most in retiring from competing?
I don't think I'll miss anything, because in reality is the only difference is that I'll eat a bit more food. Training doesn't really change. I might go back to a 4-day split as opposed to 5 days, but with an option of a 5th. And probably reduce some of the, I'll call it a bit of an OCD trait, that there'll be a bit more flexibility around life. Obviously being in a prep situation, there comes a point where you sacrifice certain parts of your life. You have to, just for that. But it's just the fact that there's a little bit more choice and flexibility in life. But as far as the processes, the lifestyle, that doesn't change, and I'll still do what I've been doing. It's just I'm not going to necessarily try and get competitive lean and go that really hard, aggressive type dig. I suppose that's a better way to describe it.
I think that's an important statement that he made there too, which is I try to give all my clients to understand is he's not going to stop doing what he's been doing. I think a lot of the time people compete, it's this massive lifestyle abruption, and everything changes about who they are, and what they do. But you've built this as a foundation of who you are as a person. So stopping competing doesn't really change much. No, and it's going to be the same thing, I think, for myself when the time comes and I retire and give up or decide when the time is to pull a pin, is that I will still train until the day I die, until the body can't physically lift a weight anymore. And I think that's a large part of what people miss is they think competing leads to changing the identity as opposed to building the identity and then competing.
Correct.
That becomes who they are. It doesn't become a part of who they are, I guess you could say. Like, the lifestyle of bodybuilding should be a part of who you are first, and then you get into competing. But I think now with social media and the age of gratification, everyone wants to be known as the bodybuilder before they've actually lived like it first.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I think at my age, and when you start to get older, doing weight-based training is more about staying healthy and active. And I have goals. I want to travel and spend time doing things with Michelle. So if I don't train, I may not be able to do that. So, and the nutrition is also a way to keep me healthy. There's no guarantees in life, but I'm at least trying to tick all the boxes to maximise my chances.
Yeah, being proactive with your health. It's a crazy concept, but instead of waiting to go to the doctor and get a drug, you actually try and be proactive with it and just be healthy. All right, let's get the kit off and see what's underneath. Yeah. All right, quarter turn to your right. Boots on. Stomach flat. There we go. Nice, there it is. Back's looking lean. And quarter turn to your right. Just brace a little bit more in the core. Those abs right on. There you go, that's it. You've got the abs there now, we've got to show them off. Do it back to the front. Open that up. That's it, there you go. All right, front bicep. Nice. Hips up, there you go, that's better. Yeah, look at that there, that's good. Really good shot. And real lat spread. That's nice. That's really opened up a lot. Abs and thigh. That's it. Good. Back in good. Quads, keep the quads, keep the quads. There we go, don't lose the legs. Nice. And relax. Let's go favorite most muscular. And we're right up, right down. Bring that out. There we go. Good. Yeah, nice. All right, so definitely seeing the physique dry out more and definitely get a bit more relaxed. Stress is coming down. So main thing we did this week with Pete is pull down a lot of output. Food's stayed relatively the same. The only thing we're not doing this week is obviously the more frequent high days. So we've been running 3 high, 4 low. This week, all we've done really is pull down, running our same low days, which is not even really that low. Sufficient enough to drive a deficit and flatten it back out. We've got our high day going in on Thursday, tomorrow. And then we'll be running our food load or the show day food as we need to on show day. But yeah, so realistically, body's responding well, fluid's being dropped off, we've reduced output, reduced steps, training intensity's come down a little bit. The main goal for me with a physique like Pete's is to try and let stress come down, let fluid reduction occur, de-escalate inflammation, and just kind of let the body relax itself. I tend to find that that produces a better look than trying to over manipulate too many variables. So it's not a massive manipulation of sodium, potassium, water. Like, we do a little bit of that, but the main thing that's worked well for us last time was just trying to get the body to relax and then fill as we need to. Agreed?
Agreed. 100%.
Yeah. So body's feeling good, looks good, it's doing its job. Got another day of getting lean and flattening out, and then we'll put the carbs in tomorrow. I think we have 450.
Yeah, 450.
450 program tomorrow. With that, I'll pull protein down a little bit. And then on Friday, fats are a little smidge higher, just to hold the look a little bit more, get us through to Saturday, and then we're good to go. So everything's happening as we planned for now. We'll obviously take it day by day as it happens. Make sure we go to the bathroom and all that properly.
That's right.
But yeah, so Pete's got his deload session now. Deload session, basically his peak week session. He'll get through that. And then, yeah, you'll be, by the time this video continues on, you'll be coming along with us to show day to get ready and pump up and get on stage. So I'm keen. You can put your clothes back on now, it's cold. Ooh, what's it been like coaching Pete through his final competitive season? I think I've said this one a few times already, but I have a great degree of gratitude and humility that someone chooses to end their career. It's one thing to get a newbie and a first timer, but to have someone who's a seasoned, experienced athlete know that this will be their last time competing and they wish to do it with you, I think is a very rewarding and fulfilling experience, because I know what it's like to lose a sport, to retire from a sport, to be pushed out of a sport. So to have someone go out on their terms and choose that they want to do that with you as their coach is a very rewarding experience. And it's definitely not something that I take for granted or take lightly. If you could bottle one quality Pete has that more athletes need, what would it be? As we sort of spoke about, I think the biggest thing would be for me if more athletes embraced the process and performance goals and the mindset that your position on stage is less important, then I think we'd all have a lot better experience as athletes, as coaches, as a sport. And ironically, you'd end up with better position on stage anyway. We all want to win, that's a given, you're an athlete. If you didn't want to win, you're not really an athlete. You would lack the athletic mindset. But in our sport, the true wins along the way come from recognizing the performance and the process goals that get you to improve. So to me, if more athletes adopted that from Pete, we'd be in a lot better position as a sport, as coaches, and as athletes individually. What surprised you most about how Pete handled this prep mentally? It's very hard sometimes to teach, the quote unquote old dog new tricks, right? So for Pete to take on board the things that we've worked on, just something as simple as one of the things we do with our clients before a prep now is have them construct their own success criteria. It's one thing for me to tell them that I want to finish first place or I want them to win. That's great. Every coach should want their clients to win. But for you as an individual to create your own success criteria and reflect on that, refine that, to adhere to that as the season goes on, makes it a lot more of a positive experience, rewarding experience, a fulfilling experience. To teach that to someone who's retiring and to have someone view competing through that lens after 7-8 years of being a competitive athlete on the bodybuilding stage, it's definitely a surprising change. Usually I'd have more luck teaching a newbie that side of things. It's a lot more difficult to teach the psychological, intangible stuff to someone that is more mature in their training experience. So that was definitely a positive that I got from Pete this year, that you can teach old dogs new tricks sometimes and still get a great result out of it. What are some unique considerations you've made this prep given Pete's age and longevity in the sport? Honestly, one of the considerations has to be how much data he has previously, his own anecdotal experience and input. Even though he's had a variety of coaches, there's been one constant, and that is Pete himself. He has been the constant in every season. He's paid attention, he's done the thing, he's done the work, he's recorded the data, tracked the information. So the individual, and this is where I argue N equals 1 is still a sufficient sample size when looking at anecdote. He has the input data that we need to understand because he's lived it and done it. So he's going to tell me what didn't work, what felt good, what felt bad, what movements haven't worked in the past, or perhaps he didn't feel the same connection last time. He has that information to give me. So I would be ignorant as a coach to not take that wisdom on board and implement that in our process and strategy. In fact, it's an inherent part of motivation when you look at self-determination theory that you have someone involved in the process. It's called autonomy. You're giving them a degree of input and then relying or including their competence of knowledge and experience and execution to be involved in the process. This as a byproduct increases intrinsic motivation and client buy-in. So Pete is more involved in the process because he's contributed information that helps me construct the process and the system, and he's therefore going to be more likely to stick to it anyway in the long term. So yeah, not only understanding that he has that history and that evidence, but taking it into consideration when we put the plan together and execute week to week. He's the only one that knows what the last 8 seasons have looked like in peak week, how he's felt in peak weeks, what he's done in peak weeks, what didn't feel great in peak weeks. That's all information at this point of a prep that he has that I've never had with him. So it's a no-brainer to consider that in the prep window. But yeah, I think overall it's been, for me, a very emotionally fulfilling prep. It's been a very gratifying prep, and something that I have, it's given me a great degree of humility. There's weeks and times in coaching where it feels hard and it's exhausting, and it's sometimes frustrating because you want to see the best in people and get the best out of people and want them to give their best. You want to get certain results, or you want to see people achieve certain things. It doesn't always go that way. So to have a client like Pete, it's definitely been a rewarding experience, a fulfilling experience, and really reinvigorates why you coach and why you get into it. It's less about the result and more about seeing someone grow and develop, even at Pete's age, to continue to see him get better as a person, as an athlete, as a client, and then, like he said previously, getting more present with his relationships, his life, his training, his overall enjoyment of it all. It's very easy to get caught up in the emotions of competing and start to hate the process. So all of that to me is a very rewarding experience as a coach and makes it a lot more gratifying in what we do. So definitely a big takeaway this prep, something that will stay with me in my continuing coaching career. And something that, we've developed a relationship that will go beyond competing, I think, in the future. Alrighty guys, so that is deload session for upper day 2 pull session. Good exercise variation here, very simple. Again, not drastic intensity. We're trying to let the body recover at this point. I've got another 5 weeks on this block before we get to pre-prep tidy up. So we need to make sure that we're running that runway as best we can and getting the best stimulus we can to grow and maximize our time. By the time you see the next video, we're going to be at Pete's show, morning of, getting ready, getting down to see him, and basically running you through the whole back of house sort of situation and setup with the comp day. You know, following Pete the whole time, going through it all with him, and really trying to make the most of that. So after that, we'll also take our own camera, continue the journey down to Sydney. We'll be seeing Amy, getting a look over her in person, getting to see her first time on the IFBB stage. So it's going to be a very big weekend, a lot of content, a lot of capturing of moments, experiences, emotions, results. So we're looking forward to it, and it's going to be good fun. But otherwise, yeah, that is the end of the session, end of the vlog. If you have any questions, if you want us to talk about anything, please obviously reach out, let us know, or book in your free consult, because coaching spots are available for next year.